morning everyone. My name is Vishwas. Today we are going to start a new chapter of our class 10th, that is light. So what is light first of all? Light is basically a form of energy that helps you to see the objects clearly, right? So light is basically a form of energy that helps to see the objects clearly. Okay. Now light is a form of energy. It has basically two types of nature. Now do you mean by the nature of the thing? That is, light travels in the form of wave or light travels in the form of particle. So light travels in basically both the forms. Light has wave nature as well as particle nature. Wave nature, you all know light travels in the form of wave, but what do you mean by this particle nature? Have you observed ever Tyndall effect? Yes. In that Tyndall effect, you might observe there are some particles due to which the light used to scatter. That means light is also having some kind of particle nature. Regarding these two things, you will study in class 11th later on, right? 11th and 12th are having these two topics. So in this class, we are going to study this much only. Let's proceed to next topic. Next topic is quite important, that light is basically have two processes, that is, one is reflection or refraction. What do you mean by reflection? Reflection means when the light travels in same medium. And in case of refraction, light travels from one medium to another. Now, let's take an example or discuss about reflection first of all. What do you mean by reflection? Reflection is basically the bouncing back of light in the same medium, right? At the same angle, at which angle that is incidented, right? Let's see with the help of a diagram. I hope this diagram will be visible to you. Basically, a plane surface. This is a ray of light, or we call it incident ray. Normal ray, which is at an angle of 90 degree. This is reflected ray. What is going on is, the incident ray or the ray of light is falling on this surface at a point O. This point where the light is getting incident, that is known as point of incidence. And from here, there is one more ray which is meeting over here, that is normal ray. So it is making an angle I with the normal ray. This angle I is known as angle of incidence, and after striking this surface at point O, it is reflected back at the same medium, in the same medium at same angle. That is angle R. This angle R is known as angle of reflection. Yes, reflection. There is two words, reflection and reflection. We are talking about reflection. So this angle I is known as angle of incidence. This angle R is known as angle of reflection. Both these angles are same in this case. Angle I is equal to angle R, right? This process is known as reflection. Okay. In this, there is no change in medium, so light travels in the same medium. As you can see, the medium is same. For example, let's take a day-to-day life example from this. Suppose you have switched on the light in your room and then the objects are visible to you. Before there was no light, you can't able to see the objects, right? When the light has been fallen on a particular object, that object has some kind of light is absorbed by that object, but that's a different thing. When the light falls on that object, after getting fall on a particular point, it gets reflected back in the same medium and reaches to your eyes, right? Due to that light which is reaching your eyes, an image is formed on the retina, and that retina sends that image to your brain through an optic nerve, and brain understands that image, right? This is the whole process how you can able to see the things clearly in your room or anywhere. Now we are going towards refraction. What do you mean by refraction? In this, light travels from one medium to another, or we can say the light is changing its medium. So how? Let's take a very good example. You might have observed there is a window in your home, and when light travels from when the sunlight is coming from outside to inside, what happens is outside there is air, light coming from air, that is airer medium, and when it is coming to glass, that is a quite denser medium, and then it is again changing its medium when it's coming inside your room, that is inside a air, right? So here what is going on? Refraction process is going on. How? Because the light is first of all from air to glass and glass to again air. So there is a change in medium, right? So I have used the word rarer and denser, and there are certain laws related to both of this. So first of all, let me tell you about something about rarer and denser medium. So what do you mean by rarer medium? Rarer medium means that medium in which there are small or little bit particles which are present, and there is not much density, right? For example, air. And the denser medium means where there is a thickly populated area or denser area, that is known as denser medium. Like we can consider glass. In glass, the particles are quite tightly packed, but in air, the particles are quite loosely packed. So we call air a rarer medium and glass a denser medium. I hope you have understand. And let's move forward related to our next topic, laws of reflection. Now what do you mean by laws of reflection? I have already made you understand with the help of a diagram. Let's see it again with a wider view and with a clear view. This is a diagram. This is light ray, that we call it as incident ray. This is reflected ray. And this is normal, that is at an angle of 90 degrees. Now what is going on is, this incident ray is falling on this point, that is known as point of incidence. After getting fall on this point, what is happening? This object or this plane is reflecting that light at the same angle, that is angle R. This is angle I, this is angle R. So these both the two angles, that is angle made by the incident ray and the angle made by the reflected ray with respect to normal, will be same. I have used the word with respect to normal. That means we are going to use these angles with respect to normal, not with respect to plane. So that's why I have marked this part. This is with respect to normal ray, right? So this states that angle I is equal to angle R. That is our first law. The first law states that the angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. Right? Okay. And you have to write this also, angle I is equal to angle R, with the help of this diagram. Now what will be the second law? The second law is the incident ray, the reflected ray and the normal all lies on the same plane at the point of incidence. This is a very simple law. I have to erase this. I am going to write the second law. The incident ray, refracted ray, and normal all lies on the same plane at the point of incidence. This is known as second law of reflection, right? So they are having two laws only. There are two laws in case of reflection. There are two laws in case of refraction also, but that we will study in the second part, because in the first part we are going to learn about reflection and the topics related to reflection only, that is related to mirrors, right? Okay. Now in this chapter we are basically going to learn about two things, that is mirror and lenses, the image formation by mirrors and lenses. Now we have to start the mirror and lenses part, but before that we have to go by a basic concept that is known as spherical mirror, and there are a few important terms also related to it. Now what are spherical mirrors? Let's see. Now spherical mirrors are basically the mirrors which is present in the form of a sphere only. It's very simple. Just focus on it. This is a sphere, right? Now consider that this is a spherical mirror. It is made up of glass, that's why it's called a spherical mirror. And mirror is painted or polished from one side, right? So it will be polished from one side. It can be inner side, it can be outer side. Now let's see from this mirror how we can able to extract the other two mirrors, and what will be the definitions and the points that we have to remember about these spherical mirrors. This is a spherical mirror, and there will be some center point also of a sphere. There should be, right? Because we are forming a sphere and it's a geometrical figure, so we must be having a spherical point over here. So this point is called C, right? C means not center. This is basically called center of curvature. C stands for center of curvature. Okay. Now there is a line. In mathematics we call it as diameter, but in case of science we call this line as xy, or we can call it as principal axis. XY we call it as principal axis, right? So what is principal axis now and what is center of curvature? Let's understand about these two basic things first. C is the center of curvature, that is the center point of the mirror of which mirror is a part, or the center point of the spherical mirror of which mirror is a part, right? So because this is a center point of the spherical mirror and of which mirror is a part. Mirror is a part means it can be convex mirror, it can be concave mirror. And this is the line, we call it as principal axis, that we have denoted by xy. What is principal axis? The line passing through the center and pole of the mirror is known as principal axis, right? This point is called pole. Now sir, why this is called pole? This is not a kind of mirror now. This is a mirror, this is a spherical mirror, but we have to make the other two mirrors out of it. How we can make? Now let's see that. Now this is a kind of dotted figure, and from here to here where I am drawing this line, you can able to observe from this point M to this point N. This is a kind of complete mirror, right? Understood? This is a kind of complete mirror. What we are going to do now is, among that spherical mirror, among this figure, I am going to cut down this part. Now this part is something like of this shape. right? Now what will happen when I will shade this part or polish this part from outside, then it is known as concave mirror. And when I am going to shade this part or polish this part from inside, then it is known as convex mirror. Now let's have a greater view of it. When shading or polished surface is outside, then it is known as concave. And when the shading or polished surface is inside, then it is known as convex. These are basically two types of mirrors that we are talking about. Right? Okay. Now, how to remind this? It's a very easy concept how I used to do it. See this, these two C are here. Let's suppose C stands for Do Shaitan Bache, right? So I'm using Hindi right now because in order to have a better understanding of this concept, दो शैतान बच्चे अगर क्लास में बैठे होंगे तो कहाँ जाएंगे? क्लास के बाहर, right? So I have shaded outside. So this kind of mirror which have outer shading part is known as concave mirror, दो शैतान बच्चे, right? And when there will be one शैतान बच्चा only, what will happen? The shading is inside. तो एक शैतान बच्चा अगर क्लास में होगा वो शैतानी नहीं कर पाएगा तो क्या होगा? क्लास के अंदर ही बैठेगा, right? That's why I have shaded in. That's known as convex mirror. This is a very good concept in order to remind what is a concave and convex mirror, because in exams sometimes the students get confused over here. Okay. Now the second thing is we are on this part, pole. Now pole is basically the center point of the mirror. Here it's here and here. This point is known as pole. This point. And what is this M2N? This Mn is basically aperture. Mn is aperture. What is aperture now? Aperture is basically the reflecting surface or reflecting part of the mirror. The reflecting surface or reflecting part of the mirror is called aperture. What do you mean by reflecting surface or reflecting part? As you can see, mirror is from here to here, right? So mirror can only reflect the rays from here to here only, right? Only this part of the mirror can able to reflect the rays. So that's why we known as aperture. That is the reflecting surface of the mirror is called aperture. Now P is pole. What is the definition of pole? Pole is the center point of the mirror. Pole is the center point of the mirror. Now we are left with few more things, that is known as this part that we call capital R or denoted with capital R. R is called radius of curvature. R is known as radius of curvature. That's most important part in this. What is radius of curvature? The distance between the center of curvature and the pole of the mirror is called radius of curvature. Like you might have done in maths, center से outer तक का distance जो circumference पे कोई भी point पड़ा हुआ है तो center से circumference के point तक का difference is known as radius. Similarly in this case, P is the point on the circumference of the mirror or on the aperture of the mirror. So the distance between the center of curvature and the pole of the mirror is known as radius of curvature. I am again repeating this. The distance between the center of curvature and the pole of the mirror is known as radius of curvature. Next topic. Don't worry, I am not writing the definitions, I know, because I have already uploaded a video related to the definitions. I have explained out my notes over there, so you can watch that video also for writing the definitions. Otherwise you can view this video, you can hear the voice of mine and you can write it down, make your notes through this video only. So we have discussed about these things. Now one more thing is left, that is known as principal focus or focus. Focus is somewhere in the middle of center of curvature and pole of the mirror. So center of curvature and pole of the mirror के middle में focus present होगा, right? We call it principal focus. We call it principal focus. And this principal focus is basically a point between the center of curvature and the pole. So the definition is quite simple, that when the rays which are parallel to the principal axis, suppose यहाँ से यहाँ तक rays आ रही हैं, which are parallel to the principal axis, they will meet at focus after reflection from the mirror, or they will meet at a point after reflection from the mirror or after getting reflected from the mirror. That point is known as focus. Now focus is that point where the rays which are parallel to the principal axis meet after reflection. I am again repeating, focus is that point where the rays which are parallel to the principal axis meet after reflection. I have drawn a single ray. This is principal axis, this ray is parallel to the principal axis, this is mirror. The ray is getting reflected from the mirror and meeting at point F. This ray is known as light ray and this point is known as principal focus. Okay. Now I am erasing this in order to make you this figure more clear, because I have to add certain more things. Now this is focus. There is one thing only left in this figure, that is known as small f. We call it as focal length. Now you might have understood what is focal length now. Focal length is basically the distance between f and p, right? So how can we define focal length? The distance between the principal focus and the pole of the mirror is known as focal length. So these are certain definitions that we have cleared today in the video. I hope you have understood this. Just go through this video again. If you are having any doubt, just write it in the comment section, or you can call me up also. Thank you and have a nice day. And in the next video we come up with certain more topics. Kindly subscribe the channel and like it. Thank you and have a nice day.